Hey everyone, Kent here from Apprentice Recruit and Select People, and just continuing on a series of videos that we're doing, which hopefully you'll get some value from, and a lot of it's to do with the application process and gaining yourself a new job. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the interview process. So this carries on from our last video where we talked about even things like message bank and your email addresses. So as I was saying in the last video, the interview process actually begins with any contact that you get either from a recruiter such as ourselves or from companies that have contacted you direct. So you really need to be mindful that whether it be they leave a message with you, whether it be that they send you an email, whether it be they actually get you on the phone and they start their interview process from there. So always be very, very conscious that if you are getting a phone call, especially, that if you're not in a position to be talking to the person right there and then because you're in a noisy environment, or it's Friday afternoon and it's 5 o'clock and you're at the pub with your mates having a few beers, it may not be the best time to necessarily be picking up the phone and actually responding to an interview. So I'd recommend that in that situation, if you do happen to pick up, just say, look, it's not a great time, can you call back at a later time, and make a set time, and just explain that it's not the best time to be having a chat. So because again, you need to think that with everything that's going on in the background, we're taking that kind of stuff into consideration as part of the interview process. So again, even how you answer the phone makes all the difference as far as we're concerned. It's one of the biggest things we're looking for when we're ringing you and we're going through that interview process. It's all about attitude, and if you're not giving us the right attitude from as soon as you pick up that phone, well, we're already starting to assess whether we feel as though you're going to be suitable for that particular job. So now, when you do answer the phone, you need to be obviously polite, courteous. You don't need to be too over the top. But again, there's simple things that we take notes on. And if you're rude or arrogant or just don't want to play the game as far as answering questions, well, again, that's something that we do take into consideration, and there's a good chance that your application won't progress if that's how you come across. Because we're assessing how you come across with us and whether that is how you will come across with our client. And over the years, I've had people say, yeah, but you're just the recruiter. What does it matter? And that's whether it be the application itself or how they've been conducting themselves over the phone during an interview. And I'm like, well, we're the gatekeeper. At the end of the day, we're the ones that are screening on behalf of our client, and we're assessing whether you're a fit for their company. So if you can't impress us enough for us to then want to put your details forward, well, guess what? Your details aren't going to go forward to the client. So never, ever, ever underestimate the power of the recruiter when it comes to making or breaking whether you're going to get your next job and whether it's the perfect career for you as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're going through the process. So we often say to people that when it comes to interviews, you really need to be prepared. Now, whether it be a phone interview or whether it be going into a company and having a face-to-face interview, you really need to know what it is that you're walking into. So if you happen to get any information or even just the name of the company that are going to interview you, do some homework, do some research on them. Jump on Google. There's so many companies these days. Most companies have websites, and it'll give you an indication as to what that company does. And when you're sitting in an interview scenario, if you can quote little things that you've found out about the company on their website or through friends or family or people that you know that know a little bit about the company, it's going to put you ahead of the pack as far as the interview process, because to be honest, 90% of people, if not 95% of people, won't bother. And so if you had that little bit of intel on that company and it shows that you've actually gone the extra mile to find out a bit about what it is that they do, then it's going to hold you in good stead when it comes to the interview process. So if you're doing a face-to-face interview and you're actually going to the company's premises to sit down and have a chat with them, you need to be thinking about when the interview starts. Now, a lot of people don't realise this and don't think about it, but it starts from as soon as you get out of the car. So a lot of companies, the receptionist, for instance, is the eyes and the ears of their company when people are coming through. And again, don't underestimate the power of the receptionist. And some people will have a view of the car park from where you're actually parking your car and you're walking in the interview. And they'll be watching how you represent yourself simply getting out of the car. Now, it could be if you're a smoker and you get out of the car and you flick your cigarette butt, to if you jump out of the car and you're picking a wedgie out of your bum, you know, those sorts of things, that they can be watched, witnessed, and that's starting to form a first impression as soon as you're walking into their building or their facility. So the interview starts as soon as you get out of your car. Once you actually approach the building itself, and especially if you are greeted by reception, as I said before, don't underestimate the power of the receptionist. They're the ones that are the gatekeeper to the manager or the CEO or the person that's going to be, or HR, the person that's going to be conducting the interview. And I know myself, with my agency when I was based in Southport, my receptionist can make or break your interview. So she would basically come out with your application form before we got you in, and she would simply give me either a nod to go, yep, they're good, or a shake of the head, and I was like, okay, I know this is going to be quite a short interview. And often the shake of the head is because she's had a bad experience with the person when they first walked into the building. So whether it be, again, they're rude, they're arrogant, they're abusive, they say the wrong thing, they use inappropriate language, anything along those lines are things that get noted down, and they get reported through from somebody who's sitting on reception. So as you're approaching companies, just make sure that you do the right thing. Again, be kind, be respectful, that person that you're sitting in front of when you first walk in can actually ultimately make the decision as to whether you're going to go any further or not. So keep that in mind. In the interview process itself, once you're sitting down in front of someone, you really want to stay positive. You really want to sit and look as though you're engaged. So we'll often say to people that you want to sit forward in your chair, don't sit back, don't lounge around in the chair. The simple things of body language that are things that we note, and it just shows your level of interest and your level of enthusiasm when it comes to the position that you're applying for. So again, be very, very careful about what your body language is like. Don't sit there with your arms folded. For anyone who does know some basics on body language, it's a very closed position. Generally means that you're not interested and not receptive. So don't sit there with your arms closed. But you still want to be quite relaxed, and if you've got somebody who's good at interviewing, that's the whole idea from their point of view, is to actually keep you relaxed. Because the more relaxed you are, the more authentic you are, and we just want to really see who the real person is, so that we know whether you're the right person for our particular client. I also recommend, before you go into the interview, actually have a whole series of questions that you want to ask the person yourself. And I've done this myself over the years, where I've taken in a notepad with me or my diary, and I've generally listed down about a dozen questions that I've got for them, so that I can also make sure that the company that I'm looking to work for is a right fit for me as well. Because it's not just all about them. We've just got to make sure that we're both on the same page. And I know, and I've done it myself years ago, that when you're sitting in an interview, they'll ask you at the end of the interview and say, so have you got any questions for us? And 9.5 times out of 10, most people will sit there and go, no, I can't really think of anything right now. I did have some questions that I wanted to ask prior to walking in, but I can't remember what they are. Well, if you've got a notepad and you've got them listed down, it's quite professional to still sit there and say, yeah, I do actually. I'm just going to have a look at my notes, open up your diary, and then start going through the questions. Now, some of the questions you'll find have already been answered during the interview process itself. So you can start crossing those ones off, and I sit there with a pen and I start crossing them off the list. And then I'm like, okay, well, I do have 3 or 4 questions here for you, and then I'll start listing them off. And again, what it does is in the interview process, it shows you're prepared. It shows that you're actually taking the process seriously. And again, it doesn't matter what position this is for. It could be for, as I say, an executive job or an entry-level position. It really doesn't matter. But it shows, again, you're proactive, you're interested, and again, it'll put you ahead of the pack, because the majority of people won't do it. So you might feel a bit weird or outside of your comfort zone when you're doing it, but it's definitely worthwhile. So it's certainly a practice that I've used over the years, and I've been very thankful that I've actually taken the time to sit down and go through that process, because it does make me look a lot more engaged in the interview process itself. Something I didn't mention actually is even when you first walk into the interview, things, again, it's all back to body language, but how you actually meet and greet when you're walking into an interview. And simple things like a handshake, simple things like eye contact, your body language when you first walk in there. So again, these are really, really simple concepts, but some people just don't get it. They don't understand. So when you're walking in there, first thing you want to do is shake their hand, say their name, and look them in the eye. And a handshake can, again, make or break, especially for me. I'm really big on handshakes. How that interview process is going to go. So you want a firm handshake, and again, look them in the eye. It's a very basic courtesy that a lot of people just don't seem to follow through on, or just don't seem to understand. So anyway, that's a tip when you first walk in to any sort of an interview scenario, or even just a general meeting in general. So anyway, there's a few more tips for you on do's and don'ts when it comes to interviews. So hopefully, again, you've got some sort of value out of this. If you have, please share it or tag friends or family into it. And we'll bring you some more short videos soon. Anyway, have a great day. Again, Kent here from Apprentice Recruit and Select People.